Akwatia member of parliament lawyer Bernard Bedi Akubedu any NPP ni Collins also amankwa ene dia ko bom e peace 104.3 FM. Ne nyina Sedina Tamakloe abusafo wa winning the case e appeals court or the same ka say she's been acquitted and discharged. Na ene no Akwatia member of parliament in fact Collins also amankwa say 93 million Ghana cedis just like that. Yama obi afasika na dia mana fa no ho adi. Eho Akwatia MP no lawyer Bernard Bedi Akubedu be si akire say NPP for nyatwom na moye careful because one ye ka obi osa ne ho kire na ye former finance minister Kenofriata also more drawn into the discussion because one na ye payment bia as finance minister. Number 2 aya wata to say NPP for more draw Mahama and na ba way into what the judiciary has done. What's Mahama we judge na setata na mo NPP for mo wa ban mu no decision bia judiciary ni take na ye nka se mo na mo sha kire e mo yesa na untumi Ekwa appeals court okowini a yanka se mo na mo sha akira na mo yofo nsa na mo hwem de mo nya careful na papa no waka ne nsem no I think say we losing the voice but he was forcing his voice through and he was becoming passionate. Who said lawyer Bernard Bedi Akubedu me feeling it pa but the be o cast some strike me pa e yabusafo also here what is a Godfred Dame former attorney general by statement say enema ni bi ho no mo amogika about Sedina Tamakloe no ko no attorney general no onya we what's this the CD and then what pa so because to be incompetent I don't care. Because to be incompetent I don't care. Anyway, we have both videos now right here on Sokatwa Show. Message or subscribe. We have bell notification icon turning on video and drop here once. Feel free to leave your comment in the comment section. We share link now for and be a little flower green clean solutions that I say for cleaning services in Ebedaya and a power numre who fee hospital charge bank institution office or you have a prep how see home why come a hobbyam. The patch of numbers negotiations they make sure you pull at the amount. First insert air call is also amount or see any yeah. Se Ghana 93 million Ghana cedis currently sika no 930 billion yama kwabra ne yafa
million down the drain. Court of Appeal acquits former Maslog boss but AG heads to Supreme Court. Nana yaw na otwi de ope court wa gini din pa wo ewiase mu ha Court of Appeal Ghana
ade.
Hey, Nana yaw
Collins.
Chese ensem no me de meti ye na nkasa no meti apai me aba besine. Na bisa me ho se. Hey. Wo ma yenhwe niam yi. Yenhwe niam yi pa. Attorney General de I mean well experienced legal practitioner, academic, politician or a former senior colleague in parliament. Sabi Zuarungu abrantie abogatanga na obonebra wakusku onimde na me kenkan judgment no madine ho yaw kakra na yaw amadie no minkomu bebre na emumu no mesrese Supreme Court no de nko njai na yaw
Are
the consonant.
The consonant is saying,
oh, Anaya. I'm not a legal practitioner, except to say, I'm a paralegal. Now, say, court, Akwatia discharge. Obi. Na, in criminal jurisprudence, I na making you. Now, Attorney General say, or kwa overturn this decision. I don't think it's known in criminal jurisprudence, except to say civil law and sadia no be no ewum. Inti maame no so na ye criminal charge in ye debo ball no. Di be ye cosnenti me from where I sit. Me jitum say Attorney General na nkasa ti me identify on record say ensem na Omona state na the ball ma me no incomplete dia na wantimi am fill in and now one draw court no attention say we any defects are we detected based on records now we jaho na say judgment aba na ya acquitted ma me na discharging dia me mesre say Attorney General say use taxpayers money ko file bibia enko bibia because o kind said almost eye boapaye Ebo paye say ye kwan be ne be fa so ma me ne be free no enti no yema tokro bi medo na maame ne mfa ho pie na momu no de ha me ne se 93 million okay kan nyina kra bomu a odim say cost implication is I think is more than 500 million. Yes, more than 500 million. Ghana city nyen kwada sika na yeka ho asem nti sa 93 million no nyina se ye pese e kire se ni nyina no ko waste na asem na da ho na yasem kase o nti sika fa maame no sabi ne nsem a yaka ho asem ya kantamanto emeyi ejahyehe wo musika ya maami ekodi maami hu a yaka ho asem ye o mantima nkyere ba bi asika no eko account ekoto mu ene ba bi ekodi ye no nti ye ja ho saa na enti maslo sika o mede ko Batampa microfinance company limited no maame no odinsi hu kase a microfinance for no ka se omuntimi enu nti no nsa magi sika ne back no se sika no a omudi gu Ghana must go mu ehia no bachona no se sika no ye hunu bio no se sika no so no ekwa na asembe na ye ka ne krom ha sei enti se ya quitting na discharge ne kra na sika sem no so are we saying say there were no procurement breaches? In fact, and some no akoso no court of appeal. And some no odion. So try judge no. What na say edi asem no. Wa bregu. Ati ase. Say opro didi a onwam so didi. Anonymous appeal this morning. Say Sedina Tamakloe Ationu Ationu Edidia ya regional chairman wontumi so Edidia because edi na make cancer hwe it's so sickening say Obako de onumpo de enyo onu ankasa na directly oko engage in sa illegal mining no. Na emumu no yesi wakofa aban to me kakra. Akọ transfer mineral right no ni sell to me no. Enu nti onko afiase 20 years. With hard labor. Na kwan yo mo fa so try chema wontumi wo kromo ha no. Nana yaw. Usain Bolt echen wo mo che o mo se ogina field etumrika na se ogina tracks etumrika na se wo hwe se ekwan a expeditious trial omodi ye regional chairman efem wo kromu ha edru ba bia che se court no kra break kra akodi kra otimi se de aduane to omo a che se ekwan bia so e was say chairman asem no ye din in terms so ye din in terms so ye boa ne kumfo ye de na kwa akwatwiri mu 20 years ye maame Sedina same court no competent court of jurisdiction etna na asem so court no started di na asem no adru ba bi ye maame se ne ho dodo no nti okohwe ne ho yare okọ United States of America ne ho to no nyina na wo ho wa mabio wa mao appeal no woni timba wa mao o twen se na ban ene ne party beba abem ene maami aban NDC ne oho ne party ena ewu oman we ne se ni nti no akwa ba se ono nso so 10 year jailer sentence court no de man no high court de man no ene court of appeal say a wasted can say resources say court no betina so be canin 78 counts ni nyina onkofie sika no Batampa fo sika ye kodi ni nyina maame ni nkonu nkonkodi maame no say yes yegna acquitted and discharge ne de prof sa decision ne de ba dia ene de ne chese woni obi ani ase woni obi ani ase mo bibia mu Uni obi ani asem obi biem. It is say no. Na wo share 3-member panel na court of appeal. We share Omudin Justice Emmanuel Ankama on the preside ye. Justice Samuel Obeng Diewu and Justice Emmanuel Senior Amedahi. Yes. We money a kuku damwa. Omotina asem ne so. Wo money PM for omotina asem ne so. Na me hwe Emmanuel na nam se ampa nyame ne ho ampa. Because hwe said the decision na bana. Onyame ne maame ne ene wo sisi a. A chese edi asumdue sonko abre no. Na emum amagana no. Kwan a NDC for the amagana e faso no asefem. Kwan a ban we de o my Ghana e faso no asefem. Kwan a ora Mahama ban yi amagana omu evrepi amagana e hye na ne ya no ano odin papa. Say 93 million cedi down the drain. Just like that. Just like that. Sikanu nyina ekọ. So are we saying say ayampa say time wa ma me ne kwaji sikano every say microfinance ne ho no say sikano anko account to BM na mo yi cash omo withdraw cash and e de ma me no ti say sikano hini ne kosi ye
ti koloso uso man kwanu si ya pe na lawyer Bernard Bedi Akubedu Akwatia member of parliament no show no to say hey Collins ni MB before and the eba yi e ho ma mo ti mu so na mo nje Oka Mahama asem a blasty MP before say issues na ekoso no e ya mo draw Mahama into the discussion because MPP mo time May 2024 and Mahama no file for appeal. It is Mahama time case na ye mo time na chance. In fact, mo finance minister company issue some payment at the man Kabusia and the lawyer Bernard Bedi Akubedu about 17 minutes the patrolman skepe Shamanisi Oja.
Yeah, me TV brave, but kakra me person be putting in the proper perspective. Na yeti e ho ase no enye say oman democracy niema democracy fapem ejina yie say ye gem ready near dem ra ye adwuma rule of law e frankomo a enti onsem good eponso nia no e kanu bi empempi no niema hu ne say ase se ye shada dia na no Assemble ni ayeye na see play on the keyboards of people just emotional blackmail ni akeka na sa ni eko but me susu say nye se ye betena fidie su say ya titiriw ni so nyankopon aye adom na ye ya krachefo ni nwrafo kakra ni ye ba be kirekire nsemu ama me nana me maame nana biama o wa chimta krase beti ase na wahu say eni akoni ya na ya di no krama ye ho sa ya chi we yenya no no efri he e bada ben sa kasa nkofo ka eni ade da bia maka no afidie so and I'll repeat it because they keep doing it so much that dia ye bra na ado danko Akufo-Addo as attorney general e wo president Akufo-Addo so and no take steps immediately as after mobile power and no repeal sections what your criminal code criminal libel and no repeal na do danko Akufo-Addo ehu section 207 and 208 no I know a offensive conduct and then false publication but na do jawo wan fa no sanka mo MPP for kasa mo kenti and na menso me de na do abem no nya twom ne dawson na do a repeal criminal libel no oja section 207 air force publication your friend is saying offensive conduct and 208 na offensive conduct oja wo say yam fanya adwuma in fact ne person ya chi nipa ya jeli nipa Oyinba Buama was jailed for speaking wankuku nipa wantwe sekan oh please
Attorney General NAMRA not parliament
Collins
yeah ni say yam wow
okay yo
why na yamra
Mati
council
Attorney General NAMRA and then parliament dia Mati
council
I will be so surprised say as a former member of parliament obetra kasa Attorney General NAMRA LGBTQ na attorney general impact.
Mama
kwai me say a state and now so would and you know this. Oh, this we can't do this. State and you know I know better. You know it. So stop it. State, NPP and sponsor bills. Okay? Of course, yeah, there is also the private member bill, but the state often and the state sponsored the bill. And then another Danko Kufuor was attorney general. Echo repeal criminal libel. 207 and 208. But once a son. Nebres were the Yajumachi in Krofuk in Central Forka. Yachini Pagum, a jelibi. The record is that on Heneban Buama was jailed. Then this year, press conference. And then hypocrisy. Gana Emodia. Ade. Because Yachi MPP. On Heneban Buama, Yachi, what is that this in EB a press conference? Ye jelly in Chroma. What is obi a demonstration? And then ya chom no. All because there's obi MPP new airport dia and the enchilade. And then the young who says I'm running. Say nya ye ni ayanka. But it's not as if say no be using. Because in any case, me imagine men can't das and another Danko Kufuor na miachi on Heneban Buama. On Heneban Buama then way. As some of kind say, on noon your name say, Supreme Court for my judgment, Koti if you Kufuor. Not some more kind one treat you, one second. Ye jelly in Kruma. And then ya chom no. Sabre na moy. Iti enya, yan kwasa samrano. We are starting afresh. But more be imagine because Ababa where you some more kind impugning criminality on the president. You see atem didie keke. Criminality, me person can say ni biwa on the president. Every city and munjano. If it have na muhui. Me eni nkomo. See. Share and again it's linked to in some night dejan. I'm so surprised. Does MPP only understand criminal justice? And answer justice to mean say omunkrofu free debia. And answer obi kokota at all costs as jelino according to your perspective. Bitien komono and with the greatest respect, judges me and son assembly so John Dramani Mahama on count. Me am tia me NDC ni men count. Judges ne mu mienu na na do Danko Kufuor na appoint on call. Court of Appeal. Okay. So if this is Niamo Kadia, there's a momo brace on judges now influence your manner. Why are we doing this to this country? If this is the benchmark, I'm say, Judge Dia somewhere, say, your president in Ayadia, and your bra Mujeli said in Amno, Musmuko who high court judge Nana. Prof, what in American? Let's stop this. Let us stop this. So if more person would say judge be a my decision, and your president now smart judge and so on quadia, and your namus book of high court judge and no jelly mamino. Sir judge, high court judge under your tenure, and man judgment free there, and then a court of appeal, 3 wise men. And you quayadi at the end, you say, President I. And then yachom no. Me a lawyer. I don't want to go into them, even though I have my as a lawyer, a trained lawyer, maybe as I'm a MP, now me whine dining or court. Me nim and my personal opinion on the matter, and I have all the decisions. High Court, yeah. Court of Appeal, the your friends saying submissions made by the learned Attorney General or the opposing, yeah. And then you can say, my men so lawyer stroke way, marking kind in here, but then yamen any advocate. My men lawyer, and Timin, I may babe church, but to drag a minor also at the back and seminum as a spokesperson for the government, I would dispel it in a day. And then they see, Mammy, you had some tone or so. And I saw send you some token of free atas wound to me, so sad started. Yeah, investigate you, Mammy, no ha. And now, yes, charge sheet against her. Ya de court, Nini, I know her. Ye dina someone no court debia, cosi say, or sre court say, the home for no peso to coin. When you get it, or sre court, and a court granting, these are facts. The order is there. And now call ye. Or call ye no, why man to court 2 assembly shadow, 2 assembly shadow, no mountain and canons, no. Ombisan a lawyer and Timin Cass and Papa Bia. Ye mre munsono, because you are put on notice, who you are aware, see ye di wasem. It is the until can who near your dear, and Attorney General at the time activate your friend is saying the provisions of trial in absentia, and the court admitted it. And a trial in absentia, the course. Let me also state, and for those omwa nipa bi atwa to akere o ma say na ne lawyer of course, but let me state to be on him criminal procedure na ye bia say o lawyer wo ho a o lawyer no ni o ye ne so cross examine state no witnesses no e bring so I say wo ka wasem anya lawyer na be ka kire. It is all criminal trial bia ye bisa attorney general no state no dey prosecute the case into ordinary na dance for beba or the nadam for ba omu gina da kem ka o masem de na the witness statement na ye so omu wi a o lawyer for be cross examine se ye wi bibia ke judge no e wo asede so be prove say ana obe ka say o wo asema no yi ana say oni asema no yi. It is all asema no yi a na say ya catch say baby opinion with defense. Eti maame na preso ya say yes you wa asema no yi no opinion defense no ni ho no abeka na asem. But court no was satisfied say ebra ye ma wo se kobra no wa ma nti etimi di wasem ene ye di ye NDC anye press conference NDC anye let's get the facts right. NDC ango release state wo ma anye demonstration because emra na say ye na adwuma kosi so obo ye trial in absentia maame ni ho ni edi asem ni wie jeli no NDC anye dede bia because President Mahama Gidi say osomo a eso obu akonta obi ankasa okroma oti on chairman NDC ni ba ko oyi press conference ene ye jeli maame no ene ye ni etie baby ene omo take steps for years no omo jeli no as at May 2024 ene maame ne lawyers President Akufo-Addo so ti akonya so ene maame ne lawyers file a notice of appeal no and maame metie fronti assess enya President Mahama ba ye and ama maame ni take advantage and I will explain to you ni enti e cheye and throw no do so do maame ni file notice of appeal in May 2024 and Godfred Dame Attorney General and I'm so surprised some who statement be Godfred Dame release or see no nim in fact so see no nim then you will be the most incompetent Attorney General because a lot of things happened. On finally, the state also filed a document. What kind judgment? And read the judgment. No. What kind judgment? Now, Court of Appeal for STT. I was paragraph 35. Let me read it to you. On bachelor on your course. Mamin can be a mechanical. Only near Mamin file notice of appeal. No, and a state, opposite car say or your fugitive or nigga and you're heading for you into only right to sort of file appeal. They had to go through this. The court had to hear the matter, determine, say, indeed, appeal. So that is what delayed the thing. Because there was even a preliminary issue of whether I appeal or not. So read 35. I knew about it, but Court of Appeal also even mentioned it. And they dealt with it in the 94 and 97 page. Also, the respondent's preliminary legal objection, respondent the state, or Court of Appeal is dealing with it. My lords, I previously mentioned the respondents raised and contended a preliminary legal objection in its written address. Address and some state whom say no need rights so be appeal because of a fugitive of justice. And this is what the Court of Appeal said about that matter. The respondent asserted that the appellant was a fugitive from justice who had absconded from the jurisdiction of this court and consequently was not entitled to invoke the appellate jurisdiction of this court to challenge her conviction and sentence. It's not law. But I know the all kind of it. But this means said there was an earlier contention. Some crony rights obey appeal. And the Attorney General is saying you him. What? Was you him? So let's stop. Me and some bebre wom. Because if you tell me, and the Court of Appeal dealt with it, say, okay, so be a cause financial loss to the state. Now, minor risk. This woman never was the one that paid the money. No 2 years cano. So I sign contract now, and you're not done for buying and a bit 2 years cano. So the Court of Appeal is saying that the ingredients improving say, Obia more minor risk cano, and we pay. This is what the Court of Appeal is saying. Omunim chen yan yati he ni awomrem enti omo aka say no the ingredients no enkowie say wasan agreement ekowie ni tua no so nya maame ni tua say if there was anything wrong with it whoever paid the money should not have paid. This is what the Court of Appeal is saying. But in niam no omo aka omo de the learned Attorney General currently inherited asem no was serving notice say on the Court of Appeal and yarding. It's your back Supreme Court. I hear so be say settings. Really? In fact, as I speak to you, I'm more a file or some a file a notice to stay the execution of the judgment. Actually, say near court akasi enjoy my answer. Attorney General said no on Peneso. Now they no case or yes on can here. Court na akasan kianti baby. But Attorney General so on Peneso. Let us give him the benefit of the doubt. Indeed, you are to forcing a trial. Our High Court. A black court in the catcher and so or case to answer. Case to answer no or we no. Or no kwaya appeal say only case to answer only sa court na nyadwen okoye court of appeal ene yewra atofo yadwen say he doesn't have a case to answer under nanado danko akufuad and also John Dramani Mahama na court of appeal judges. Look enra nansenya special prosecutor say me Attorney General view about special prosecutor Supreme Court and should be down. Do you know the number of cases Attorney General will lose to court? Because the judiciary no won't mean chani ombeka. But in this case, you know, me makase idea yes so key was idea way no. I said the woman was not heard. But in your court in form so let me stress it. As a lawyer, me jitum say in your court in form so. But the fact that in here no, ma me no yantie nasem. Enti near your kagu ni so near to say na kendi, trust me. And say bebre kafa ken hotra. So be jina da kem say nya ni nya na betin approve. E betu kra ba say ni nya no kre. But in the meantime there you can say you 100 count, 500 count. By depending your opportunity, no, so can I say more. Now, better not say, Mammy, it is on record say she was not heard. Near your can, our first why you say, and I'm surprised. Say, ne, me, you have 90 million, then, and no, onyane. In fact, one of the cases, I American say, Sikana Casa Crown, or your contract in Rio Jao, or be a bit how do you say, Mammy? It is a Sikano, say no person or Chessa says Sikano, Mamma and Afadia, and your copies are your chair Sikano, and your canoe furiata. And a fight.
I've 2 minutes now, made the man when I started.
Where
the old area coming 2 minutes.
So what I'm saying is that Yantias, yes, ye de Emran a teacher of mine. Say Obi and a case court of appeal, Crona and I wound to me, after you're convicted no, also your oko. Emrano na eyadwuma. It is a one to me in TV via no so court of appeal. We wish him well. Maybe he said court of and they have so much confidence or court of appeal must want to be a bit free. And into oma asesa grounds of appeal be brede ko. Se court ne ne ya adwene agana o mafi. Sicilia da pass ya chi obi tum keke by the mere words and honorable te ha e ka say eyi wa fesika ka Sicilia da pan ko them 1,000 years. Emrano nya sa na eyadwuma. At the end of the day, you have to prove it. The person will have his day in court. Say you can't say Ghana at 50. You take Chrome has say main kai you rap a jump pianimne your friend is saying Tarzan. And then you Anthony Chroma. But you are doing here, they went on appeal and had it all struck down. Yes, Jessica good polity munies Oman go free. And will be a day. Emrano, I told the beer just would be out Timrana, see, I'll be who send you pretty. If you had sent your own man, then yes, I net. It will be quite the back down court, African court, and baby, no. Aha, Uncle ye, a bassa. You're right, you know. I saw bear appeal, which the Attorney General is doing. So appealing the Supreme Court, no, say, Nyombe Kenya. We all near near try, baby. But to say, and I'm surprised, no more can answer more impugn by, but no more attacking judges, no, because John Dramani Mahama, Sabi no namni baby. Oh no, and you know dear Samuel. Ethiop near dear someone who can ask them, warning. Are you warning the justices of the Court of Appeal?
My father, Academy Prof. No, yes, sorry. 2 grammars.
Aye. Yapon say.
So I'm anti.
And never to
and some of those. Where your preliminary you? One myself. And Nadia, my brother. My neighbor, Puffy Kumbilson. I said, nay, holiday. It's more Nadia, my young Juma will.
Akwatia member of Parliament, Lawyer Bernard Bedia Kubed na Motin Karapapa me feeling the brutal. There be a Busao, say where was he anyway? But the program let's see enter the big man in Southern Akwatia Jantuah Mobetin Karapapa so Katwa show most of for Steve Zanu. Best anybody shall be. Bye bye.